face of God, because after wrestling with this man, um, for however long it took him to the break of dawn, um, he believes that he has encountered God face to face, and he calls the place face of God, which actually the place is a physical location that, you know, to this day exists. So, what do we know about this storyline? Jacob's alone. There are no witnesses to corroborate the story. And this is one of the things that, immediately when someone brings a story to me, not just because of my profession in law enforcement and investigative studies, when someone brings a story to me, I immediately want to know, are there witnesses that can corroborate the story? Because if you were the only person there, it's real and true to you. And the burden of proof of its validity falls upon you. Now, how do you corroborate the story if there are no witnesses, if there is no concrete evidence to support the story? Now, some would argue the evidence is the Bible. And I would come back, the Bible is the work of man. So we go around this circle. It's God's words. Man wrote it. The Bible is true, according to man. And we're going around this never-ending circle of never coming to a place of agreement, and that's fine. That's quite all right. It's quite all right. Because you are free to believe what you want to believe. Remember, I'm not trying to persuade you to believe otherwise, but I do want to share my spiritual journey and how I came to the place where I decided to walk away from traditional religion and to leave Christianity alone. Because that's what it was. It was just a story. It was just a story. The fact that the way it is written in the storyline, this man remains a mystery even after the character Jacob asks him, "What is your name?" Now, it seems to me, now again, here's reason, here's logic, here's using your brain, here's thinking. If you encountered someone, right, and that encounter was a real knockdown, drag out for you with that person, something inside you want to know, man, who is that? who was that? What is their name, right? You would want to know that. You would want to know something about them, just like in boxing. I'll use that as an example. In boxing, you're training to be the best boxer that you can be, and then there's somebody else who's training to be the best boxer that they can be, and you hear about this person, they hear about you, and then it begins, and so it begins. The quest begins. Who is that person? Tell me everything you know about them. I want to get in the ring with that person. I want to get to know that person in the ring. I want to fight that person, and I want to defeat them. You want to know. No two fighters get in the ring and don't know nothing about each other. Here Jacob wrestles with this guy throughout the night to the breaking of dawn, and the man don't tell him who he is. Now there's all kinds of, I've heard all kinds of explanations why the man, who they say is Jesus, does not identify himself. Which makes no sense when you think about it. Just makes no sense at all. So the man remains mysterious. He never identifies himself as God. He never identifies himself as Jesus. Jacob is just left to believe amongst himself that he encountered God, that he has seen God face to face. And so what I have discovered over the years in my research and in my studies, as fascinating as the stories are, and they are fascinating stories, they are. I don't suppose that I have all the answers, and I will never portray myself as having all the answers. But the answers that I do have, that I have discovered, that I have unveiled, that I have searched out for, that's what I share. And in this here fascinating story, it is evident that there are no witnesses to corroborate Jacob's story. And what is interesting is that there's no one there to have seen this encounter. How do the authors of the writing know that these things actually happened? They don't. Now, historically, stories in the ancient days within cultures was passed down orally. And you and I both know, if I tell you a story today and you go tell that story tomorrow, you're going to add a little and you're going to take away a little and you're going to forget some. You're not going to tell it the same way that I told it. You're going to add a little more to it to make it a little more exciting. You're going to take some away that you may feel is not relevant, and you're going to forget some of the things that I expressed as being notable to remember. Is it possible that the story that was told has been embellished, has been given a little more flair to make it more exciting and fascinating? See, those things we simply will never fully know unless you open your mind and start using your brain and start thinking and asking questions and employ reason and call upon logic. It begins to come clear. They're just fascinating stories with some hidden principles that are applicable, which makes them allegories. The stories are made up, the hidden principles are applicable, they're transient, they can be applied from across generations. But the story itself, let's get it right, the story itself is not literal. They did not happen that way. So that's one of the points that I wanted to bring out in my encounter that I had. That, again, I tell you, it was hard for me to explain. I knew something happened, and I believed that what happened was the result of encountering God. And there was a lot of people around me to witness that something changed within me. But I've come to realize that the same thing happens at concerts. Yeah, I've seen it happen. I've seen folks come into concerts contemplating suicide, with suicide ideations, feeling this is going to be my last concert and after tonight I'm going to kill myself. And the artist gets up on the stage and starts singing and gyrating, and the music is going, and the people all around are equally excited, and the atmosphere is charged with energy, and then that person begins to think differently. And somewhere in there, they get a glimmer of hope that, hey, maybe life is worth the living. And something that is said across the stage resonates with them. Now, the super spiritual will say, that's God. Well, then stop condemning those that don't believe, that are having encounters where people's lives are being changed and they're not seeing as God. It's all part of our human experience. You get enough energy in the atmosphere, things are going to start changing. You do know that we are energy. Our mortal bodies house energy that is ever looking for ways to be released. So, my next video, I want to talk about something that is very practical, something that we all have. We don't pay much attention to, we don't hear much talk about, but every one of us possesses it, and it is very intricate in how we think, how we feel, and what we do. So tune in next time to The Great Reveal. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this video. If you stuck through the whole thing, I know it wasn't as upbeat as you might have wanted it to be, but I'm just sharing my truth and sharing my spiritual journey. Again, I reiterate, I don't in any way seek to persuade you to believe other than what you choose to believe. You have that intrinsic right to believe what you will believe. That is totally up to you. I just want to share my spiritual journey that led me to my decision to walk away from traditional religion and from the Christian faith. And so this has been another great reveal moment. It has been my pleasure. I thank you for tuning in. I ask that you would hit the like button so that others can get an opportunity to hear this information as well. And then I would ask you, if you have not already done so, do share my videos with others that you think would find some good out of it. So with that being said, again, thank you so much. I look forward to the next time. Peace and blessings to you and to yours.